Welcome to the AnyWare Apps podcast segment in the American Business Podcast. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for your support. My name is Kevin Deveci, your host. AnyWare Apps are business software products designed for small, mid-size, and enterprise organizations to digitize, automate, and transform business processes. These are modern systems. They are easy to use, quick to deploy, and easy to learn. Today, I have a guest in AnyWare Apps podcast episode. Sydney Paiko is with us. Sydney will perform a demonstration, and you'll see one of the AnyWare Apps products in action, and you'll learn about features and benefits of the software. Sydney, if you are ready, please take over the screen and perform your demonstration. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin, for having me on the AnyWare Apps podcast. I'm Sydney, a pre-sale software specialist at AnyWare Apps, and today I'm going to be showing you the AI-powered contract management AnyWare software. So when you first open up the software, you are brought to this screen. It has many different dashboards, all including KPIs that you could track. So this first tab includes any contract-related statuses, so you can see your live contracts with SLAs, your live contracts without SLAs, any expired, incomplete, or concluded contracts here. You can see specifically contracts expiring in the upcoming months. You can also see contract performance statuses. You can see contracts pending for payment, contract payment completion, and contract signature statuses. Under service, you'll see all your service stats. So this is your total service stats, including all of your live services with and without SLAs, expired, incomplete, and concluded services. Specifically, you can see services expiring in the upcoming months and service performance stats. Under risk, you'll see supplier risks, separated by high, medium, and low risk. You also have contract business risk, separated by high, medium, and low, and service business risk. Under top 5, you'll have different KPIs that you can configure to your specific business needs. So in this specific demonstration, we'll have a service dashboard. It'll feature your service risk as well as your business risk. We also have a supplier dashboard with the total spent and risk rating of your different suppliers. We have an SLA dashboard, which you can view by alerts, cost to rectify, service credit, and business impact cost. Finally, we have the consumption dashboard, which you can view by commodity, location, department, and user. Moving on from your dashboards, you also have a system calendar. The system calendar has filters that can be added, edited, and removed over here on the left side. So for example, if I only wanted to see contract review specific deadlines, I could deselect all of these. And then you'll only see contract reviews which are marked by pink. You can change your view to be monthly, weekly, or daily. You can also click on one of the upcoming events. So, for example, I clicked on Document Management External Review. This is a contract review event, and it'll just show you some quick information like the contract number, contract name, value, the RAG status, which just stands for red, amber, green status, and the risk. So you can look into more details by clicking the More Details button. And as you can see, it'll bring you to this page here under the Contract tab. It'll show you just the overview of general details about the contract. If you scroll down, you can look at any contract files, policy files, and assets. So all of these assets that show up here can be pre-configured by an admin within the admin console. And if you wanted to associate a specific asset with that contract, you can just select it from this list on the left side. You can select multiple as well, and you can press add. And then it'll just add that asset association to this contract. You can also look at these preliminary tabs. So for example, under procurement, you have all these different clauses that you can view and edit. So for example, if you have an exit period coming up in the next 5 days and you want to set a trigger period to notify someone about the exit clause deadline coming up, you can set the trigger period a few days beforehand. That notification will hit that person once that trigger period comes up, and then they can decide whether or not they want to go through with exiting a contract with a client. Additionally, we have these renewal clauses that you can set triggers for. You can set all of your clauses over here. You also have this reviews tab here. So if your contract is important enough where you should be reviewing it on certain dates, you can set your review start date, your review frequency, and the email of the reviewer for that contract. When that review start date pops up, you can set a notification message and send that to the reviewer. And if that reviewer doesn't review that contract by a specific amount of hours, which you'll set here, you can also include an escalation email for someone else to review it. Under review, they also have the charts and review. So they'll have cost tracking. Under cost tracking and also under transaction tracking, you can see down here that you'll have a contract value, the contract value used, and the over and under used by percentage. So this would be what it is for the transactions. And then under cost tracking, they have these values as well. And this just allows you to keep track of any variance. You can send any variances to your team to investigate, and you can view these variances by location, department, user, and commodity. You also have a service level agreement log, and this will just show you either a weekly, a monthly, or a yearly view of your service level agreements. This will show you the actual count. So, for example, you have 12 red alerts and 12 amber alerts. Under SLA alert summary, it'll show you all of these different alerts and the description of the alerts so that you can investigate further details on all of your different SLA alerts. On the bottom, you have the total service credit, the total cost to rectify, and the total business impact cost. So you can track all of that here. You have your operational tab under preliminary tabs. So here's where you can bolt on any SLAs to the contract that need to be tracked. So you just click one here, and you can just press this button to bolt it on. And then you would add the RAG escalation name. So for example, archiving Amber would be the name of this one. You would add the escalation email, the escalation status, and the notification messages so that all of the different SLAs are being tracked. You can also attach any notes to your contracts as well as customer remarks and view those here. The customer tab will allow you to manage your customers that are going to be interacting with these contracts. These are just going to be all of your existing ones, but you could also add or import customers by selecting this over here. You have these filters up here. You can also search by a specific name, and then it'll just search like so. You also have these risk statuses over here, and this little index down here will let you know what the different colors represent. So you can either have a high, medium, or low risk for your different customers. You can click into a specific customer to view their details. So it'll show you their organization, region, departments, all of this general information over here. You can view their financial information. You can set any review dates to review that customer and the reviewer email and the review frequency. You can add any compliance documents to the customer. You can attach any assets to be billed for under billing. You can also connect contracts to that customer as well as invoices. Under Under suppliers, you can similarly press this button over here to either add or import your suppliers. The view is just going to show you the name, organization, department, supplier reference, and profile status. You can click into a specific supplier to view their details. This is just going to give you their general details. And then down here, you can view any financial details, any review details, if a supplier needs to be reviewed. You can set any compliance information. You can add any contracts that are associated with the supplier. And you can view any supplier documents that are associated with the supplier over here. You can use departments to categorize different departments under the business that you're working with, since different departments deal with different contracts. So here we just have this one. You can click into it and you can see the organization, region, admin, department name, contact name, and email for the department. You can add more by pressing add. You can also import a department if you want. Service Manager will show you different services that you can run on your businesses. You can click into it and just view all of the service information. Down here, you'll have any review dates, any service information, such as service value, the annual spent on that service, the term for that service. You can set up automatic reporting. You can also bolt any contracts onto that service that would be required for it. You do all of that here and press save. You have your cost tracking. Similarly, this would just be used for to send any variance to your finance team. You have notes. You can view any timelines for that service. And there's also the service flow tab. This just shows you all of the contracts under the service and then quick information of the overall contract stats on the right side. If you wanted to make a contract change request, you'd go to this tab. You would just press add. You would specify the contract for that request, the subject, the request reason, any fields or components, any values, the timeline for approval, the current value, and support documents for your contract change. And you just press save and you would input that for approval. You can also add any document signatures. You would just press here and press add to add one, and you just input all of your document signature here. Under Contract Builder, you can choose an organization and a contract template to then build your contract. You also have Contract AI Profiling. Under Contract AI Profiling, you can go here and press Add. And if you upload any static files, an AI native process will be applied to those to convert them to dynamic machine readable data that can then be analyzed, profiled, and monitored. So to start that process, you would just set the organization, the owner's email, the draft name, the contract number. You can toggle on or off if it's a cell type contract. And then you would just upload your static document here and press save. All right, and before I move on to the tracking section, I also just wanted to show you this integrated chatbot that we have with the Contract Management Anywhere software. So if you click on it, it's just called Ask Ellie. And within here, basically the chatbot can help you with any contract management process that you might go through in the software. So you can, for example, upload contracts, ask for descriptions about specific contracts, make a contract change request, and more. So I'll just be showing you how to make a contract change request. So first you would just request a contract change. And it's going to ask if you want to proceed. You just say yes. And it'll ask you for a contract number. So you just go into your contract section, choose a contract number, and copy and paste it here. And then it'll ask for the context of your request. So I'm just going to say that there were supplier issues. And it says, please type your reason for requesting this change. And I'll just say delays in supplier deliverables. And then it says, please select a component from the options for which you are making a change request. So you can either select a contract duration or a contract value. I'll just select the duration. And then it says, please provide the value which will replace the saved value. I'm just going to say months. Okay, so with this specific demo link that I have, I might not have access, but you get the idea. You can basically just, instead of having to go through the system itself, you can much more easily use Ask Ellie to do certain requests. So once you're done using the chatbot, you can just clear, you can close, and you can move on. So now I wanted to show you the tracking section. We have all these different things you can do. So first we have the performance tracker. So here's where you will design your performance trackers as an admin to make available to your users. So for an example, let's say a user needs a performance tracker for a specific contract. They'd request that, and then you would create that tracker here. So to create one, you would just press add. You put the name of the tracker. And then for the tracker, you just describe what it's for. You can set the KPI. So let's say I want the deliveries KPI. And then you can either compute it as a delivery or as a sum delivery. And you can schedule when the tracker is set to run. So you can do it daily. You can even do it every weekday. As you can see, there's a lot of different options. Once your tracker is set, you would just press save, and then it'll show up in your performance tracker dashboard. And then the user that requested it can then use that tracker. Under cost tracker, you can track recurring or variable costs. So under each cost tracker, you can add commodities with their costs, locations, and users to bill. So for example, if I wanted to create a new one, I would just press add. You can put the name, description, the contract that it's for, select the data connector, which I'll be showing you how to set up data connectors later. You can add variable pricing. Variable pricing, now a lot of people use this is more so for example, if you were a gas company, you might use this, and it basically changes the pricing based off of specific times that you set. And you would just do that over here. You can add one in by putting the title, description, commodity, cost for event, and start date and end date for that specific price event. And you just save, and then that variable price will be in there. Under commodity, this is just going to be the list of goods that you can bolt into your contracts, as I showed you earlier. So you can just add different assets or goods. You can click into one to view and edit it. And as you can see, you'll set the region, asset name, asset ID, and description. And then down here, any related contracts, asset visualizations, and link contracts for that asset will be shown down below. You can also add specific contracts to that asset if they weren't already in there. As you can see, this asset has these contracts that would be connected to that asset. Under location, you can create and track your locations for your contracts. Under user to bill, you can view and add users to bill. There's no limit to the number of users you can add here. And you would just have to set their name, the description, and the region that they're in. You can also import a user to bill if you don't want to do it from scratch. So then we have finally the SLA, KPI, and connector sections of the tracking section. These are a little bit more complex. So let's start with connector. You're going to want to use these three items for situations where customers want to add more information and customizations into a contract. You can create capabilities like the service level agreements to bolt into a contract or asset managements to bolt into a contract. And you can just extend the use of the user's contracts here as an admin. And the data connectors will check data to be used to deliver a particular SLA or service level agreement that's been created. So as you can see, they have the name, description, connector type, and platform. If you look into one, it'll show you all of the different fields you have to set for that data connector. You can connect a database. You can also, if you go up here to add a connection, you also have these options. So you can make a Sage Intacct connector, a Sage connector, and an email connector, depending on your needs. Once your connector's been created, you then can go to KPI. And under KPI, you're going to set metrics that will sit in an overarching SLA. If you want a brand new KPI, you would just go up here and press Add. And you have to set all of the KPI fields over here. And then once you created it, you would just press Save, and it will show up in your KPI dashboard. And finally, under the SLA, the admin can design an SLA to track in a contract using a data source from the connectors. Once the SLA is designed, it'll show up in this dashboard. You can add a new one up here, and you just choose the connector. You choose the SLA type, and you'd set all of these fields here. And basically, you want to set a schedule for the SLA to be reviewed, and you would just set who the reviewer would be, the notification that they would receive. So that's everything under tracking. Now I just wanted to show you the configuration section. So we'll start with the reports tab. We have ready-made reports for each organization, depending on what your organization needs are. So you have predefined reports here. You can choose from different standard reports, and then you would choose the entity you want to run the report on, and then you can just run the report. You also have a report builder. If you want to build a report from scratch, you would put a name for the report, and then you can choose from all of these different fields to include. So let's say you wanted to include a contract name, contract number, contract rag, service name, service number, service value. Then you would just add selection criteria. So the contract name, you can select if it contains a certain value. You can add sort criteria. You can add summary fields, and you can add all of this information in your report builder. And then you can either run your report, download your report as a PDF or a CSV, or save your report or reset the values. Under data visualization, you have different ways that you can visualize your data. So you have the hierarchical view, which will just show you a bird's eye view of your modules, depending on what you set. You also have a comparison view. So if you wanted to compare different services, so let's say under the AnyWare Contract Management Organization, I want to compare different contracts. I want to compare access and is there internal. You can show the SLA total by alerts, cost directed by service credits or business impact costs, and then just press open view. And that comparison view will show up here. If you scroll down, it'll show you all this key information here. And then you can compare that information with the information in your contract as their internal. And this just allows you to get a quick comparison view. Similarly, under the service performance view, you can select from all of these different options and then open your view. Under user management, you can view all of the different users that you're managing under software. You can click into them to look at more details. You can edit any of the details here and then save. You can also add a user up here, and you just add their name and all of the required fields and press save. And that's how you can manage who accesses this system. Under organization, you similarly can view all of the different organizations that are managed under the software, and you can add them up here. You just add the different fields necessary and then press save. Your notifications are the different custom notifications that you can set that are sent when certain triggers are executed. So you can just add a notification up here. You would put the organization, notification type, name, sender, subject, message body, which is what's going to send in that notification. Message body variables are all of the different variables that you can include in the message body for that notification. And you just press save once you're done creating your new notification, and then it'll show up in your notification dashboard. With governance, same thing. You can view and add governance to your governance list. And you would just set all of these different fields here. You can choose a file to attach, like any governance files. You would press save, and then it will show up here. Finally, we have the setup section of the contract management AnyWare software. So here you can create different contract templates. You just press add, and you can edit all the details here. And then here you can preview what your contract would look like. And this is just giving you a quick overview of how this contract template module would work. There's a lot to it, so I just wanted to show you this quick overview for now. You also have this document signature section where you can create different signatures for your documents. And it'll just show you the name, organization, type, and host. You can add a new document signature here. You just fill out all of these fields, press save, and it'll then show up here. You have your item category setup where you can set up your different items. It'll have their name, organization, and type. So for example, we have the availability SLA item for the AnyWare contract management. You can add a new item up here, press save, and then it'll show up in your item category dashboard. Your outgoing mail tab will show you a list of all of your outgoing mail servers. You can add a new one by just putting in the email server here, the port, password, username, and sender. And then you can ping the mail server to make sure it's working properly. And then you can just press save and it'll show up here. Your service period is where you can configure service periods. So for example, they have this 24/7 service period here. You can add a new one and you can set it so that there be an exclusion or an inclusion period. You can set all of these service period configurations here and then it'll show up here. Under contract type, same thing. You can either add or import your contract types. If you wanted to add one from scratch, you can put the name, the type, the sector, region, breakdown clause, revision clause, your termination, your rolling in renewal configurations, and your retention configurations. And once all of that is set, you press save and it'll show up under here. Your currency, you can add an unlimited number of different currencies that your business supports. So here they just have the dollar, but you can add as many as you need. And you just set that all here. Under service designer, you can design a service. So if you press add, you would just put the service type, the name, the service requester, and then down here, it'll show the service details like the department description, the target SLA requirement, and then you can also set your service flow over here. You can add a specific contract name and bolt it onto the service. Once all that is set, you'll save it. It'll show up here. You have your governance approvers. This is where you can adjust your providers for governance approvals. You can add emails and descriptions of those approvers. You can edit them. You can also import them if you would like. And finally, under audit log, we provide you with the ability to view all of the different actions that have been done on the software by different users so that you know everything that's happening in this system. And that's about everything I wanted to show you. This was an admin view. They also have different views depending on who's using this software. So the view can become much simpler depending on who you are. The admin will have kind of an overview of everything. But yeah, that's about everything for the AI-powered contract management AnyWare system. I really hope that this was an informative demonstration. And I'm just going to give you guys back to Kevin. Thank you again for having me on the AnyWare Apps podcast.
I hope you enjoyed the demonstration performed by Sydney Parico from Team AnyWare Apps. If you'd like to learn more about AnyWare Apps, please visit the website anywareapps.com or scan the QR code on the screen. There is more. If you'd like to reach out to me directly about AnyWare Apps, please send me an email, kevin@kerrconsulting.com, and I will be happy to coordinate a follow-up meeting with you and Team AnyWare Apps to talk about your business process automation, digitization needs, expectations, business requirements, and I'll make sure that AnyWare Apps team will also share more insights with you to address your requirements. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you for your interest, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the coming AnyWare Apps podcast episodes. Thank you and have a great day.